The Ultimate Fighter's here, it's time to get some training in. When you're fighting, there's two parts to the fighting. There's the natural fighting or reflex fighting, which is something that can be improved through Pel drills or just a lot of practice. It's getting your muscle memory into firing certain shots without thinking about it. The more you do this, the quicker you can throw your shots and the better you'll get. A lot of people will teach these kind of things. This is simple snaps, backhands, and variations of all those shots. What I want to concentrate on is not how to throw a shot, but how to fight a fight. To do that, I think of three main philosophies or components, and these are initiative, line, and plane. So initiative is pretty obvious. That is taking control of the fight. I use initiative as the word for that because it implies just more than controlling the fight. It's controlling the fight from the start. Don't let the opponent ever have the advantage. You want to take the advantage from lay on, or even before lay on, and run with it. By having the advantage, the other person will be on their back foot, and you'll be able to win the fight easier than you would otherwise. Line is something that is relatively new to me. Only the last couple of years I've fully come to understand it. It can be simplified as a direct line between you and your opponent. But it's more than that. Your line is your attack path. If your line is finer or sharper than the opponent's, you have the advantage. Now, what I mean by that is if you can get to a point where you can attack directly at your opponent, but they're facing off to your side, so they might be looking over here, your attacks are dead on and theirs are off. So you are outside of their line and you have the advantage. This will become a bit more clear. It's easier to understand with pole weapons, but it still applies with sword and shieldsmen. Plane is an even newer concept I'm trying to work on, and that's the plane of attack of the weapon. Now, for a pole weapon or a thrusting weapon, the plane of attack is the line. It is one and the same because you attack, or the plane of attack is the thrust along the line of the weapon. For a sword and shield, the plane of the weapon is the sword blow. So to here, it's got to come through here typically, okay? So what that means is, in close, the plane of the weapon becomes more dominant because that is what you're going to get hit with. It's the chops. Back here at range against a thrusting weapon, it's the line of the weapon. Now each of these things, including the initiative, so all three have certain advantages and certain counters that you need to learn to combat them. Now, and all three of them change depending on what weapon form you're using. And in future videos we'll go through each of the different weapon forms, fighting both ways. So for example, shield versus glaive, and look at it from both sides. What are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and what you need to work on. But I suppose that just as an opening example, the best case I've come up with to display the line and the plane is fighting a left-handed shieldsman or an opposite-handed shieldsman. So normally you would form up with against a shield, something like this, or something like this, depending on your style. Against a lefty, common practice is to move the shield over a little bit because their main avenue of attack, or their plane of attack, is coming down this side. Likewise, I'm doing the same against them. So it's natural for a lefty to form up like this because they fight so many right-handers. For us righties, we have to actively think about it. Now this is addressing the plane of attack. Okay, so we know the attack plane is going to come through here, so we're going to block through it. Now there's two ways of doing that. You can either actively defend over, or you can step into it. So we'll address that in later videos, but that's the either cutting the line or blocking the line. But so there's only a certain point that this will get you to. Okay, you can only swivel like this so much. And if their line is better than yours and they're working themselves around out of the shot, you can only twist so far. So addressing the plane will only do so much for you. after that point, you need to address the line. Okay, so instead of facing forward, I can do this only so far, and then I'm going to address the line, and now I'm actually facing over here. Okay, so by addressing the line, they can no longer gain access to over here. I've locked that down, and that, depending on the degree of movement, either addressing the plane or addressing the line may be the better option for you. If you don't know if they're going to commit down that side, a small movement like that might be enough. If they're going deep, it's easier, more economical of movement to just address the line by swiveling to face. Okay, so I'll cover that in more detail along with the different weapon forms, but this is just an introductory video. Hope this all works. Talk to you soon.